proof that Yahusha was in the whole Tanakh. It's just that this is one of the titles people don't know him by, or just unwillful ignorance have not realized that he uses this title is specifically used for the role of the Ben of Yahuwah, and it's very obvious that it's Yahusha once you see the context of and really I'm not making this stuff up. I mean, the Targums show this as well. Every time it says Yahuwah Lua, in their version, it would say the word of Yahuwah. So this is I'm not making this stuff up. It was very clear in their own culture this was the case. So this is not something I'm making up on the fly here. FY, people that are listening on the recording here. So you're going to see what I'm talking about soon enough. I just need to get the document open here. Okay, so just be patient, guys. But you're going to see what I'm talking about. All right, there we go. Oh, Ben. Okay, so shalom, everyone. Welcome. I'm Brother Doug, as always, with the Weekend by Yahuwah Assembly. And today, we are celebrating today we're celebrating Yahuwah's new moon. So Chag Semach, Rosh Kadash, to all of our brothers and sisters out there. In English, that would be, joyful new moon, glad new moon. So I hope everyone's having a joyful and glad new month. And today is the start of the 12th month, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to be going into this study that's going to deal with how to find Yahusha in the Tanakh. I really recommend those that have not seen the part 2, part 1, please visit those just to get a context of what we're going to be talking about here. So we already went through a couple of titles. I think last time we already went, shalom. I'm glad you guys can see me finally. Hopefully, Yahuwah willing, we'll have one Zoom session where my Joy-Cam does not screw up. Oh, no, you're already screwing up, aren't you? You're already screwing up. Why you glitch like that? And I really don't understand that, unless that's a new thing with Joy-Cam where it glitches for no apparent reason. The lighting on this phone sucks, too. It's not helping either. Okay. Second, should be like this. Let's try this again here. Sometimes this happens every. Okay, so now it's showing that, huh? Okay. All right, man. All right. Okay. So anyway, so we're going to be doing a part 3 of how to find Yahusha in the Tanakh. So, all right. Anyway, so let's see here and go to here. So I think last time we did, and of course it keeps screwing up. I don't understand that. This never used to happen with the camera back in the days. Droid Cam, you guys need to fix a glitch. That's all I'm going to say. All right. So anyway, last time I think we did the titles of the Messenger of Yahuwah, Melchizedek, the Suffering Servant, the Word of Yahuwah, which again, Targums. Thank you very much. Okay. Very clear that Yahusha is the word of Yahuwah from even the Aramaic Targums, which, by the way, are not of any type of Christian origin, okay? I know that's going to be one of the assumptions people are going to have. Well, it's Christian bias. No, it's not. It would actually be an opposite bias if it had a bias, okay? It's very, very, very Judean in origin. The Targums go back to the very early rabbinical synagogue period. So, yeah. Okay. The Messenger of Yahuwah, again, the Targums make it even more obvious who this Messenger of Yahuwah is, or I actually should correct myself because Brother Yahusha brought this up recently, which I've found recently as well, is that it actually, there's really no the actually in the text, and there's no of in the text. So actually, both in the Greek and the Hebrew, it just read Malach Yahuwah. So basically, it's the concept of that this version of the Father would come in the form of an angel, form of a messenger, and cohabit with mankind and talk to them and fellowship with them. Okay, so it's not actually a regular angel. Okay, but anyway, the right hand of Yahuwah, again, I think we went through this last time because we already did 2 parts already, just kind of giving you guys an overview. I think we finished with the splendor and esteem of Yahuwah last time. So now we're up to this, one of my favorite titles, Yahuwah Alua, or Yahuwah Elohim, if you prefer the plurality of that title. Okay, so again, you're going to see how many times this is mentioned in the Tanach and in context that is talking about actually the person, the word of Yahuwah. It's the same person. Okay, Genesis 2:4-5. We'll start with that, right? And I'm just going to double check and make sure my shared screen is working correctly. So keep it on the screen there. And then do share again. And now, so now we're going to go first to Bereshith, Genesis 2:4-5. The creation of man and woman. This is the book of generation of heaven and earth when they were made. In the day in which Yahuwah Alua made the heaven and the earth. So it's basically saying the word of Yahuwah made the heavens and the earth. That's what it's saying. So right there, you can see Yahusha is credited as the creator. Okay. He's not just a regular heavenly being. He is the creator. Okay. All right. And it talks about every herb in the field and all that. Okay. So Genesis 2:4 is the first time we see that. We can go to the next bullet point we have here. We're going to go to, let's see here. Okay. So we got Genesis 2:7. So now we're going to go to 2:7. So Bereshith 2:7. So let's drop down here. And Alua formed man out of the dust of the earth and breathed upon his breath the breath of life. Man became a living soul. And Alua planted a garden eastward in Eden, placed there the man whom he had formed. And Alua made to spring up also out of the earth every tree beautiful to the eye and food for food, and the tree of life in the middle of the garden, and the tree of learning the knowledge of good and evil. Okay, so I guess that's a wrong, unless the Masoretic has it there. That's the only reason I could see why I cited that one. Let me just check something really quick. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I got to make a little note there. So in the Masoretic, you see it here. Okay. So in the Masoretic, interestingly enough, they actually left this in here. And Yahuwah Alua, or Elohim, formed the man out of the dust of the ground. Again, Yahuwah Alua is the same person as the word of Yahuwah. How do I know this? If you go to Genesis 2:7 in the Jerusalem Targum, it literally, instead of Alua, Yahuwah Elohim or Yahuwah Alua, it will say the word of Yahuwah formed man out of the dust of the earth. Okay. So it will literally say, or my bad, it might be verse 6 where it talks about, oh no, my bad, I'm thinking of chapter 1, verse 27. But anyway, so obviously we know the same person in chapter 1, verse 27 is what chapter 2, verse 7 is talking about. So obviously if the word of Yahuwah is Genesis 1:27, then Yahuwah Alua has to be the word of Yahuwah. Okay. So obviously this is a concept the ancient sages understood this. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we might have some Jewish listeners and viewers. Okay. So the reason I'm making emphasis on this, guys, it is not a Christian creation. Okay. This is something that was already in the Hebrew culture, the two powers in heaven concept. Okay. This is not something new. Anyway, moving on. Genesis 2:15-16. So let's see here. right? Masoretic text, Yahuwah right here, took man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it, and to guard it. Again, even Masoretic text has this, surprisingly. So both actually have it here, okay? So again, very clear that it's talking about Yahusha. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, one of the Targums in this exact verse, in verse 15, paraphrases this as the word of Yahuwah. So again, this is something that's very obvious in their culture, understanding who Yahuwah Alua was. Okay. And Yahuwah Alua gave charge to Adam, saying, of every tree is in the garden, you may eat freely. Interestingly enough, Yahusha is being referenced here with giving a command or a law to Adam. Interesting. Very interesting. Because we know that Yahusha is the lawgiver. Interesting. So, okay, let's go to Genesis 2:20 to 21. And Adam gave name to all the cattle and all the birds of the sky and all the wild beasts of the field. But for Adam, there was not found a help like to himself. And Alua brought a trance upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and filled up the flesh instead thereof. And I know someone's going to say, well, Doug, that just says Elohim. Okay, check this out right here. Now, if you go to the Masoretic, it says Yahuwah Elohim or Yahuwah Alua. Okay, so again, this concept is in both the Septuagint and the Masoretic text in certain verses. So there really is no controversy when you talk about manuscripts here. It really isn't. It's in both manuscripts. Okay, so one of the few times that we can say there's no controversy at all. So let me see here. So now we're at Genesis 3:1. And we got a couple more verses from chapter 3 as well. So Genesis 3:1, we're going to start at here. So chapter 3, verse 1. Okay, so then again, let's go to the Septuagint first. Now the serpent was the most crafty of all the brutes. I like how it says crafty. Now, and I was just testing this brother of ours has been doing a project to get a free version of Hallelujah Scriptures up in PDF files. So I was looking at this verse the other day in the in the Masoretic, and I just find it interesting he used the word crafty, which again, the Septuagint does as well. So I do think wise was probably I think wise might have been the wrong word that the King James used from translating from the Masoretic when the King James translation came out. I would say I would agree with the ISR people and others that have used the word crafty from the Hebrew there. And it seems like from the Greek, it would also be crafty as well, as from what I'm looking at here. So, yeah, the serpent was most crafty of all the brutes of the earth, which Yahuwah Alua had me. And just to show you there's no controversy here, it says the same thing in the Masoretic in this verse, okay? Yahuwah Elohim, right there, okay? Again, so it really doesn't matter what version of the Old Testament you're reading from. Really doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter too much. So we're going to move on to verses 8, 9, and 13 to 14. So verses 8 and 9, 13 and 14. So same chapter, guys. Just letting you know, same chapter. By the way, if there's any, I'm noticing a little bit of background noise. So you guys can always unmute yourselves if you want to say something, but I just want to make sure there's no background noise going on. All right, so we're going to go with 8 here. So, oh, wow. Wow, Masorites, man. Yahuwah must have been really guarding over you guys to make sure you didn't take this out. So it says, and I heard the voice. So Yahuwah's word is not just a voice. Check this out here. The voice of Yahuwah Elohim. So anyone that says, oh, whenever it says the word of Yahuwah, it's his utterance. No, it's not. Okay. Voice is a voice. Yahuwah Alua is a person. Okay, the voice of Yahuwah Alua, or in the Targums, I'm going to check this out right now to multitask here. Just so I'll check in one of my Targums. I'm pretty sure it says the voice of the word of Yahuwah. Okay, to prove to you guys that Jewish understanding is utterly false, that they're going to limit his word just to his utterance or speech. Okay. Genesis 3:8, right? Okay. And I heard the voice of the word of Yahuwah Alua walking in the garden in repose of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from before Yahuwah Alua among the trees of the garden. Targum Pseudo Jonathan, word of Yahuwah, verse 8. Just one example there of Yahuwah Alua being paraphrased as the word of Yahuwah. Okay. So just to check, I'm going to go to verse 8 as well in the Septuagint, see if it's there. Yep. They heard the voice of Yahuwah Alua. Okay. So hopefully you guys see the pattern here. I mean, this is pretty obvious to me. This is very obvious. So we're also going to go to verse 13 and 14 as well in this chapter. And Yahuwah Alua said to the woman, "Why have you done this?" And the woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." So you have Yahuwah Alua here again in the Septuagint as well in the Masoretic, by the way. The only difference is the Masoretic, has changed, Alua to Elohim because they seem to favor the plural version of the title more than the singular version. Very rarely did the Masoretes, use the singular form of that word. So that's the only difference. You have Yahuwah Elohim. So anyway, so that's verse 13 there. And again, verse 14 has it as well. Yahuwah Elohim. So again, I forget how many times we've already went through this already, but there's multiple witnesses of this, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different times. We've seen this already. So now we're going to go to verse 21 to 23 and verse 24. So, okay, verses 21, staying in chapter 3 here. And Yahuwah Alua made the coat of skin for the man and his wife and dressed them. Interesting. So kind of hinting that possibly, I don't have much proof, but possibly the fact that Yahuwah Elohim or Yahuwah Alua is mentioned here, Yahusha could have been the one to originally offer the first sacrifice for sin. Interesting to think about, that Yahusha could have been the one to actually institute the first mortal priesthood. Interesting to think about. Yahuwah Alua said, "See, the man has become like one of us." Oh man, this is going to mess with some Jewish theology here. Yahuwah Alua said, "See, the man has become like one of us, to know tube and evil. And now lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever." Okay. By the way, there's no proof that us would be angels. There's no proof of that at all in the text. Just FYI, I know Judaism would like to interpret that as Hashem and the angels. There's no reason to believe that in that verse. There's no hint in that verse that he's talking to angels. Okay. Anyway, so that's a perfect example of the oneness there. Okay. So Yahuwah Alua sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. So again, Yahusha is commanding Adam to till the ground, to become a gardener and all that. So that's what's going on there. Okay, so now we're going to go to chapter 4 of Genesis, I believe. or actually, hold on. Let me pump my brakes here. We still got verse 24 here. Okay, so actually, nah. Verse 24 doesn't really have it there, so let me just leave it at verse 23. I don't know why I put 24. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we're going to go to Genesis 4, verse 6 and 9. Okay, so Genesis 4, 6, and 9. Starting at verse 6 here. Again, this is where I would go to the Septuagint because the Masoretic text sometimes will take away Elohim or Elua away from Yahuwah here to make it look like only the Father is speaking, or only, however they would interpret it, only Hashem is speaking to Cain. Okay, right here. Instead of just Yahuwah in the Septuagint, it has Yahuwah, then Elua. So, and Yahuwah Elua said to Cain, which, if I'm not mistaken, let me go to my Targum real quick just to prove this point, that the Masoretic, there's something going on with it. All right, so let's go to chapter 4, verse 6 here. Okay, so they just have Yahuwah. Okay. Just wanted to double check and see if it was there. I think sometimes it will only be in the Septuagint in certain verses. Yeah, and unfortunately Jerusalem one's fragmented, can't use that. So, oh well. So I can only use the Septuagint for this argument, unfortunately. But anyway, just FYI for Jewish people watching, the Septuagint was used by Judeans, Yahudim, all the way throughout the 1st century AD, even up until that point. According to records, the earliest times they would have stopped using it would have been just before 200 AD. So that means that you have Yahudim, people of the tribe of Judah, using the Septuagint all the way up until that point. Okay. And it's been very documented. The only reason they stopped using it was because they thought people like us were misusing it. That's the only reason they stopped using it. It was not because it was inaccurate or corrupted. It was because they felt we were perverting it or teaching people wrong from it. So that was their own claim. So anyway, so you might want to look into that a bit. And Yahuwah Elua said to Cain, so again, verse 9 here, Yahuwah Elua said to Cain, "Where is Abel your brother?" And he said, I not know, am I my brother's keeper? I bet that pissed Yahusha off a bit. Just knowing Yahusha's character, he died for his friends. Go ahead, brother Yahusha.
Even if one wants to make the claim that, it's an accurate claim, but even if one...
You there, bro? You there?
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, so I was going to say that even if someone wants to say that the copy of the Septuagint that we have is not an original, and it's a copy, and it doesn't date that far back, regardless, the copy that we do have lines up at least 90% with the Samaritan Pentateuch. It lines up with the DSS fragments. It lines up with the Onkelos Aramaic Targum. So even if it has been, even if we have a copy of a copy, it's still valid. It's still highly valid. It hasn't been corrupted, maybe a few places, but barely at all, and that's easily provable.
Yeah, true. And I corrected, a Jewish person on this the other day, and I'm not trying to attack you guys out there, but you are very misinformed by your rabbis. I feel like this needs to be said. The Hebrew Masoretic text, the original Masoretic text, even if we somehow we had it today, right? And somehow there was an original. Okay, your original is still 400 or 500 years newer than the most modern Septuagint we have today. Whether you talk about the Codex Vaticanus, Alexandrius, Sinaiticus, all of them are like 400 to 500 years older than the Masoretic text, the original Masoretic text, mind you. Okay, so like Brother Yahusha said, it doesn't matter that it's a copy of a copy. The copy of a copy is still half. I don't know what the term for 1,000 years would be. Like, I guess half a millennium older than the Masoretic text. So that's easily provable. And that's going by even scholars' datings. Okay. Secular datings date the Codex Sinaiticus, 400 or 500 AD, 4th century. Okay. Your lovely Hebrew Masoretic text is 500 years newer than that. So just to put that in perspective. Okay. So people that want to say, oh, we can't trust it because it's not original. If your original is corrupted, then you've got a problem. So that's something you might want to think about too, because the original Masoretic text, and these scribes admitted it. I really recommend a lot of Jewish people, any Jewish people could be listening in right now, research about the Masoretic scribes. Do your research and find out they changed things in their original manuscript. They changed things from the Septuagint that was already in circulation. Like I said, these are historical facts. It was already in circulation. They didn't stop using it until almost 200 AD, mind you. Okay, from 300 BC to almost 200 AD, they were still using it. They were still using the original Septuagint. So up until that point, and even further on, they had that same manuscript, and somewhere around like the 9th to 10th centuries when your Masoretic text would have been first written, mind you, the original. So the problem you have is your original Masoretic text is still 400 or 500 years newer than any copy of the Septuagint. So that it's really invalid to say, oh, it's a copy of a copy, we can't trust it, when the original Masoretic text has issues. And you have a bigger problem when your original is not as authentic as a copy of another manuscript. That to me is a bigger problem, but that's just my opinion. But anyway, so let's see here. So again, we have verse 13. Cain said to Yahuwah, my crime is too great for me to be forgiven. Interesting wording there. Kind of like that. Kind of indicates a little bit that he was a little repentant at some point. I kind of like it better than the King James. King James does horribly. It's greater than I can bear. But I really like how Cain in the Septuagint says is too great for me even to be forgiven. So he's almost like dreaded with guilt. So, but here, the more important part here is we have Yahuwah here, which again, in the Masoretic, you just have Yahuwah. So again, the Masoretic, for whatever reason, probably because they didn't want people realizing this is Yahusha talking to Cain, took away the title of Elohim from the name Yahuwah. So they subtracted from this compound name here. Okay. So that's something to keep in mind there. So there are times where clearly on purpose the Masoretic text has done that. And again, that's what people need. That's why I say do your research. Research a little bit about the Masoretic text. You'll find out the reason there's differences is because they were trying to corrupt the text to take Yahusha out of the text. So you can do your own research and find that out. Verse 15, and Yahuwah said to him, not so, anyone that slays Cain shall suffer sevenfold vengeance. And Yahuwah set a mark upon Cain. So again, we have Yahusha being mentioned here. Yahusha is the one that's putting the mark on Cain. Okay. Genesis 5, verse 29 from the Septuagint. So we got chapter 5, verse 29 now. And he called his name Nuah, saying, this one will cause us to cease from our works and toll from our hands and from the earth, which Yahuwah Alua has cursed. Again, Yahusha here, okay? Genesis 6:5. And Yahuwah, having seen that the wicked actions of men were multiplied upon the earth, that every man in his heart was intently brooding over evil continually. Let's see here. I'm just a little curious if I can find some added proof of this being referenced as the word of Yahuwah here. So I remember seeing this before. So, okay, so now what it does have, though, in the very next verse, it says, this is the Targum Pseudo-Jonathan, it says, and in Genesis 6:6, and it repented Yahuwah, or it should say relent or sorry, that Yahuwah was sorry, and it relented Yahuwah in his word that he had made man upon the earth. He passed judgment upon them by his word. And then it even goes into the next verse saying, and Yahuwah said, I will abolish by my word mankind, whom I have created upon the face of the earth, from man to cattle to reptile to fowl of the heavens, because I have relented in my word that I have made them. So again, even in the Targums there, Yahusha is mentioned in verse 6-7. Okay. So again, this is very clear that Yahusha's there the whole time in chapter 6. Okay. So let's see, we got 6 verse 3. Let's go to verse 8, 12, 13. Now let me see, where did I get 6 verse 3 here? Okay. Oh yeah, in the Septuagint here, if you go up to verse 3 in chapter 6, it says, Yahuwah Alua said, my spirit shall certainly not remain among these men forever. And again, this is a big deal too. Those that test the Masoretic from the Septuagint, you're going to notice that instead of it saying, I forget what it actually says in the Masoretic. I haven't read in the Masoretic for so long, but I remember it says something like, what it says, strive or something. Yeah. My spirit will not strive with man because he's flesh. Septuagint, instead of that, it says it will certainly not remain among these men forever because they are flesh. So it's basically talking that specific generation of mankind. Yahuwah is going to remove his spirit from them, which actually makes 10 times more sense, in my opinion. But, not trying to go on a whole rabbit trail there, but Genesis 6:3 makes a lot more sense in the Septuagint version. 10 times more sense when you talk about the context of that and, what was happening in Genesis 6 and the warning about the flood and all that. So anyway, but again, Yahuwah Alua is there instead of just Yahuwah. Okay. So I'm going to make a little note. Yeah, actually I have a note there. Okay. LXX. Okay. So now we're going to go to verse 8 and 12-13. So verse 8. But Noah found favor before Yahuwah Alua. Interesting. So again, we have Yahuwah Alua, aka Yahusha HaMashiach, before he took on flesh. He is having this relationship with Noah, like firsthand relationship, where Noah has found favor before him. Okay. So verses 12-13, we're going to now go to. Okay, 12-13. And Yahuwah Alua saw the earth, and it was corrupted, because all flesh had corrupted its way upon the earth. Again, Yahuwah Alua. And again, all flesh, all flesh. For those that always ask me, oh, how could giants come back from the flood? We should consider all flesh means all flesh, which means that the wives of Noah's sons were probably not pure. Okay. I think that's a good hint there. When it's saying all flesh, it means all mankind. Okay. Actually, it would mean not just mankind, but anything that's flesh. It could be, even talking about the animals and all that. And we do see an extra biblical support for that interpretation, by the way. That it's not just humans that were corrupted, but all of Yahuwah's creation was corrupted. And that's one of the major reasons, maybe not the only reason for the flood, but one of the major reasons is the genetic corruption of Yahuwah's whole creation. So verse 13, again, we have Yahuwah Alua said to Noah. Okay, so again, Yahuwah Alua, aka Yahusha HaMashiach, Yahusha the Messiah, is talking to Noah. A period of all men has come before me, because the earth has been filled with lawlessness by them. And behold, I destroy them and the earth. Okay, so now we got verse 22 as well. All right. So this study is going to be good for those two that have been deceived to thinking that Yahusha did not pre-exist his human ministry, because I know certain people think that, they don't believe that he was a pre-existent being, or they actually believe he's a literal created being in Miriam's womb. This should show you that's incorrect. That doctrine is incorrect. Yahusha's all over the Tanach. He existed from the beginning. So he's not a created being. He's not just a regular mortal human. Okay. He took on flesh, but he did not originate as flesh. Okay. There's a difference. Genesis 6:22. And Noah did all things whatever Yahuwah Alua commanded him, so did he. So the basic way I could explain this to you, why there's a distinction here with just Yahuwah versus Yahuwah Alua, this compound name is kind of like similar to where we see later on in the Tanakh, right? You have Yahuwah and then you have Yahuwah Sabaoth, or however you want to pronounce that, title, Sabaoth or whatever. Yahuwah Sabaoth is a compound name referring to Yahusha. He is the commander of the armies of heaven, right? So that's kind of like, it's a compound name referring to Yahusha. Genesis 7, verse 1 and 5 in the LXX. So now we're going to go to that next. So Genesis 7, 1 and 5. And Yahuwah Alua said to Noah, enter you and all your family into the ark, for you I have seen righteous before me in this generation. And Noah did all the things whatever Yahuwah Alua commanded him. Okay, so now we're going to go to verse 16 of that same chapter. The reason, guys, I'm not wasting too much time on expounding is because we got so many bullet points to go through. We've got so many scriptures to go through just on this title alone. We might not even get to another title for today. We might just stick with this portion of the document because there's so many other verses to get to. Genesis 7:16, they that entered went in, male and female of all flesh, as as Alua commanded Noah, and Yahuwah Alua shut the ark outside of him. So again, and honestly, there's so many times this compound name is being used, it's not even funny. It's a lot. Okay, yes, Sabaoth. Okay, I knew I was going to mispronounce that. That's why I said that ahead of time. I knew I was going to butcher that. So all of my fellow brothers and sisters who are Hebrew experts, I'm sorry. Try my best here. Okay. All right. So Genesis 8:15. Yahuwah Alua spoke to Noah, saying, come out from the ark. So again, Yahusha here, pre-incarnate, is talking to Noah. So again, Genesis 8:15 of the Septuagint has not just Yahuwah, but Yahuwah Alua there. Okay. So many times this is being shown that Yahusha is talking to him there. And by the way, like I said, the sages of the Targums knew this. Before Messiah even came to earth, there was this tradition in the Targums that the word of Yahuwah was the version of the Father that would always encounter with mankind. Okay, so this is not a new concept. It's really not. So this is not a new concept at all. Like, the ancient sages understood this. They rejected it once the Bar Yahuwah came to earth, but the fact of the matter is, in their own Targums, they had this tradition. They had this understanding. They knew who this person was. Okay? Genesis 8, verse 21, and Yahuwah Lua smelled a smell of sweetness, and Yahuwah Lua, having considered, said, I will not anymore curse the earth because of the works of mankind, because the imagination of man is intently bent upon evil things from his youth. I will not therefore any more smite all living flesh as I have done, Okay? Now we're going to go to Genesis 9:12 from the Septuagint. So Genesis 9:12. Okay, so Genesis 9:12. And Yahuwah Alua said to Noah, right here again, you see it here, Yahuwah, then Alua said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant which I set between me and you, between every living creature which is with you for a perpetual generation. Just FYI, in the Targums, in this particular verse, it would say, this is the covenant I set between you and my word. Just, I find that interesting. Just, for whatever that's worth, I find that interesting. But anyway, you see the point I'm making here. So, okay, we're going to move on. Genesis 10, verse 9. Okay. Genesis 10, verse 9. Okay. Now that he obviously being referred to, all you got to do is read the prior verse. It's talking about Nimrod. He was a giant of Gibberim and a hunter of Gibberim. He was a giant hunter against Yahuwah Alua. Therefore, they say, as Nimrod, the giant hunter against Yahuwah. Now, here you see it has Yahuwah Alua in the beginning of the verse. So right here, Yahusha is being mentioned. So he was against Yahusha. Oh, what a surprise. What a surprise. Nimrod, the archetype and the first ever anti-Messiah, was against the true coming Messiah. Oh, I'm so shocked. But anyway, I know a lot of you might be saying, oh, what are you talking about, Doug? It says before. I'm going to show you how a lot of translators carry down this tradition with no proof that it should be before. If you look at the Greek and the Hebrew, by the way, it shows that it should be against, not before, which, by the way, the Targums actually, almost every Targum has against in the English, by the way. So anyway, so now where it gets weird is the Strongs, but if you look at the Thayers for the Greek, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Over, against, opposite. Now, Mr. Strong, I want to know how you can get such a different definition for that same exact Greek word. I would really like to know that. I would really like to know that. Clearly, it's supposed to be over, against, opposite. So that's why I want to just warn our brothers and sisters out there, don't only look at the Strong's Concordance. Have other lexicons and concordances to look at. James Strong was not perfect, okay? Just letting you know, FYI, there's a lot more proof for Thayer's definition than Strong's. just the fact that the Targums would agree with Thayer's lexicon, I would definitely side with Thayer in the definition of this Greek word here. Okay. And just for added proof, let's go to the Hebrew of this verse, right? So again, now the Hebrew is panim. That's interesting. Panim, plural, but always singular. The face, used in a great variety of applications, figuratively, preposition. Before is one of the definitions, but it can also mean over, against. Okay, so another one of the definitions. Okay, so knowing Nimrod's character, knowing what he would have done at that point in time, he was definitely not before Yahuwah. Okay, anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But anyway, so I definitely agree with the Thayers there. So Genesis chapter 12, verse 1. So now we're going to go to Genesis 12:1. All right, so it says here, and Yahuwah said to Abram, go forth out of your land and out of your kindred. Okay, so it says Yahuwah said this. Now what's interesting here is okay, both of it says Yahuwah, okay. So I don't know why I referenced that one. That one I can't really prove too much. I'll let that one go. Can't really prove that too much. All right, so Genesis 15:2. Now we're going to go to 15:2. I'm just looking at the time here. Okay, we might have time for Yahuwah. Sabaoth. That's the next title we're going to look at. Right now we're at Yahuwah Alua. For people that have just joined, the title of Yahuwah Elohim, Yahuwah Alua. We might have time today to go to Yahuwah of Armies, aka Yahuwah Sabaoth. So we'll see. We'll see if we have enough time. So Genesis 15, verse 2. I hated the way some translators do this. So stupid. Okay, all right. So, Yahuwah. And they do that again with the stupid Adonai with the Masoretic. Why do they do that? Maybe it's verse 1, actually, because I don't see it in either one. Yeah, okay. This would actually be part of a different category with the title of the word of Yahuwah here, or the name of the word of Yahuwah here. So, yeah, I can't really use that. That I should add that, though, to the part of the document we already went through for Yahuwah. So now Genesis 15:2, from what it seems like here, there's no Yahuwah Alua in either version, so I'll just get rid of that bullet point. All right, so now we're going to go to Genesis 16:13 from the LXX, as you can see there. So we're going to go to Genesis 16:13. Okay, so yeah. All right, enough YouTube, enough. Okay, Genesis 16:13. Now Hagar is speaking here. It says, and she called the name of Yahuwah Alua, who spoke to her. I know some of you might be saying, well, Doug, didn't the messenger of Yahuwah speak to her in this chapter? Yeah. That's because Malach Yahuwah, not of, like I mentioned earlier, there's no of in the Hebrew and the Greek. It's just Malach Yahuwah. Malach Yahuwah is the same person as this Yahuwah Alua. Okay? It's the same exact person she's referring to. So in context, is saying she called on the name of Yahuwah Alua, who spoke to her. You are Alua who sees me. So basically, she's calling him the ever-seen or the all-seeing mighty one, which again, the world tries to copy Yahuwah, and Satan tries to take any type of title Yahuwah has and apply it to himself. Satan is not all-seeing, okay? The Freemasons want you to think he's all-seeing. He's not all-seeing. He doesn't see everything. He's not omnipotent. He's not omnipresent. Only Yahuwah is omnipresent. Only Yahusha is omnipresent and omnipotent, that he knows all things, okay, and sees all things. And we see this later on in Scripture, how Yahuwah keeps warning us, who is he that thinks he can hide his counsel from me? And all that. Okay. So that's Genesis 16:13. And okay, so now we're going to move on to Genesis 21:33. Genesis 21:33, and Abraham planted a field at the well of the oath and called there on the name of Yahuwah. Okay, so I can't really use this. Yeah, I can't really use that. That doesn't have the compound name there. I can't really use that. So moving on. Sorry about that. All right, so we're going to move on. Genesis 24, verse 3. Genesis 24:3. Okay, so, and I will adjure you. What would adjure be in modern English? What would that be? Commend?
Maybe.
Order you, commend. I'm trying to think of.
I've never heard that word.
I'm trying to think what adjure, the Middle English word adjure would be.
How's it spelled?
Adjure. Adjure. Like, what would that be in modern English? Like, what word will we use today for that? I commend you. I order you. I don't know.
1 second.
I'm guessing it has to be order or command by the way it's being used. I will command you by Yahuwah, Alua of heaven, and the Alua of the earth, that you take not a wife. Yeah. So again, this is another one I can't really use that well because it's saying the Alua of heaven. It's not just saying Yahuwah Alua, so I can't really use that one. So I'm gonna have to get rid of that bullet point there. So that's not gonna work. So we're gonna go and see here if Genesis 23:7, 12, 27, 42, and verse 42 have anything. So Genesis 24, verse 7, we'll go there first.
Request of you.
Okay, no. So I think that whole bullet point's invalid because I got confused there when I was doing these bullet points. All right, my bad, guys. All right, moving on. Okay, Genesis 24:40. Okay, 24:40. And he said to me, here we go. Now we're back on track here. And he said to me, Yahuwah Alua, to whom I have been acceptable in his presence, himself shall send out his messenger with me, and shall prosper your journey. And you shall take a wife for your son of my tribe and of the house of my father. Very interesting. So that one there has Yahuwah Alua again. So now we're up to Genesis 28:20. 28:20. Okay, Genesis 28:20. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if Yahuwah Alua will be with me and guard me. So again, all the patriarchs seem to have known that this is the Messiah pre-incarnate, or that they know this is the word of Yahuwah talking to them. Okay, so this is very interesting. This is very interesting. So like a lot of things, these are ancient understandings we just have lost over time due to confusion, due to religion, giving us, perverted versions, people confusing this for the Trinity. I mean, there's so many reasons why this concept is foreign to us. Okay, so anyway, so that was verse 20 of chapter 28. We're going to go to 29, verse 31. And when Yahuwah Alua saw that Leah was hated, And I really don't like the word hated here. I really think this is a mistranslation here. It probably should say less loved or not as loved,
Not as favored.
not as favored, less favored, something like that within the context of the whole chapter. And when Yahuwah saw that Leah was not as favored, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. So again, Yahuwah Alua being mentioned here. This is Yahusha here. Okay. Now we're going to go to Genesis 30:30. Genesis 30:30. For it was little that you had before my time, and it is increased to a multitude, and Yahuwah Alua has baruched me. So again, Yahusha being mentioned here. Yahuwah Elohim or Yahuwah Alua has baruched you since my coming. Now then, when shall I set up also my own house? Exodus 13, verse 9. Okay. Exodus 13:9. Exodus 13:9. So let's just see here. Okay, so it says here, and it shall be a sign upon your hand, a memorial before your eyes, not between your eyes. Okay, that the law of Yahuwah may be in your mouth, for with a strong hand Yahuwah Alua brought you out of the land of Egypt. Remember Judges chapter 2, how a certain Moloch says, I brought you out of the land of Egypt? So if that's just a regular messenger in Judges 2, we have a problem. Because right here it says Yahuwah Elohim brought them out of Egypt. Right there. Okay. All right. So Exodus chapter 19, verse 22. Exodus 19:22. Okay. All right. And let the priests that draw near to Yahuwah Alua set apart themselves, lest he destroy some of them. So this even goes back all the way to the marriage of Israel and Yahuwah, which actually shows Yahusha was the original husband, okay? Because it says, those that draw near to Yahuwah Alua, okay, in Exodus 19:22. That's very important to understand that he's the original husband, okay? So if there's only one husband, you can only have the father and the son being one physical entity. If there can only be one husband, okay? Again, so I'm going to see how much time we got left here. Okay, it's only 3, okay. All right, I'm going to see how far we can get with Yahuwah of armies, and then we might end it at that. So I think we're about to get to Yahuwah Sabaoth, which again is the more obvious compound name that Yahusha is known by. And I think even believers in the New Testament would, believers in the Brit Hadashah would know him by that. So now we're going to go into all these different scriptures here. So we got 1 Samuel 1, verses 3 and verse 11. We're going to go to that. And the man went up from year to year from his city, from Armathaim, to worship and to sacrifice to Yahuwah Alua of Sabaoth at Salom, 2 sons of Ophni, and Phinehas, and the priests of Yahuwah. So again, Yahusha is known here as Yahuwah, the mighty one of angel armies. That's really what that means in the English. Alua of Sabaoth would literally translate as the mighty one of angel armies. Again, that's Yahusha. So now if we go to, and she vowed a vow to Yahuwah, saying, O Yahuwah, Alua Sabaoth, if you were indeed looking upon the humiliation of your handmaid and remember me, and give to your handmaid a man-child, then will I indeed dedicate him to you till the day of his death. And he shall drink no wine, nor strong drink, nor razor shall come upon his head. So again, we have two different times in that chapter Yahusha is being mentioned there. And he's even being mentioned as the one that she is dedicating her child to. 1 Samuel chapter 4, verse 4. So 1 Samuel 4, verse 4. Okay. You okay?
Just reading, that's all.
All right. Just a little worried there.
No, it's it was a little trying out there with the rain and it's a little damp and chilly and whatnot. It's good though.
Okay. All right. Okay, so here, chapter 4, verse 4, it says, and the people was sent to Salem, and they took there the ark of Yahuwah, who dwells between the cherubs. And that's a whole nother rabbit trail, is that the ark dwells between the cherubim. Yahuwah does not dwell between the cherubim. He's over the cherubim. It's a whole nother misunderstanding from the Masoretic text. That's a whole nother ballgame there. But I wonder why I wrote this down, because this doesn't mention Yahuwah Lua there, so that's my fault. Oh, this is why. Masoretic has it. It says the ark of Yahuwah Sabaoth, or Yahuwah of armies. Okay, so even the Masoretic has it there in 1 Samuel 4:4. Surprisingly, the Septuagint doesn't. I'm kind of surprised. Okay, so now we got 1 Samuel 15, verse 2. 1 Samuel 15, verse 2. Thus says Yahuwah of armies, I shall punish Amalek for what he did to Yashrael, how he set himself against him on the way when he came up from Mitzrayim. So again, you have Yahuwah Sabaoth here. All right. Yep. Both in the Masoretic and the Septuagint in this verse. Okay. So we'll move on to the next one here. 1 Samuel 17, verse 45. Okay. So 1 Samuel 17, 45. Baruch,
Thank you.
welcome. Okay. And Daud said to the Philistine, you come to me with sword and with spear and with shield, but I come to you in the name of Yahuwah Alua of Sabaoth, of the army of Yashrael. So this is interesting. So Yahusha is being called here the mighty one of the heavenly armies of the army of Yashrael. So Yahusha is the leader of the angelic host in heaven, plus he's the one that the army of Yashrael has to submit to. So that's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on. For 2 Samuel 6, verse 2 and verse 18. 2 Samuel 6, 2. And David arose and went, he and all the people that were with him, and some of the rulers of Yehudah, on an expedition to a distant place, to bring back there the ark of Alua, on which the name of Yahuwah of armies, or Yahuwah Sabaoth, who dwells between the cherubs, upon it is called. And right here, just to show you guys there's an issue here, just to prove my point about that it should be above, not between. Okay. See, even the Apostolic Bible Polyglot says sitting upon the cherub. Okay, so this is a big problem with certain translators. They get this. It's probably just a tradition that he sits on a throne between the cherubs, but his throne is actually above the cherubs, if anything. Okay, Thayer's Greek definition G1909 epi. I guess that's how you pronounce that. Upon, on, by, or before. Okay, over is even a definition of this word. Over, across, against. How that gets translated as between, I'll never get that. I don't know. That's a whole other pet peeve I have. Certain translators are being extremely dishonest with certain words. So again, it should be over or above, in my opinion, there. Above the cherubim. Okay. And David made, and so now we're going to go to verse 18 here of this chapter. And David made an end of offering the whole burnt offerings and peace offerings and broke the people in the name of Yahuwah Sabaoth, or Yahuwah of armies. Okay. All right. Now let me just see here how many we got more left. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we're definitely not finishing this title today. I think we'll probably do about the rest of these bullet points on this page, and then we're gonna have to do another part to the Yahuwah Sabaoth, because there's way too many cross references to get through for today. So anyway, so we're gonna go with 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 8. Yeah. And now thus shall you say to my servant David, thus says Yahuwah Almighty, I took you from the sheepcote that you should be a prince over my people. I really don't like how that's worded there in the Alexandria Bible. Hold on. And now thus shall you say to my servant David, thus says Yahuwah. Actually, oh, I see what happens. Sometimes Yahuwah Sabaoth in the Septuagint, sometimes it's not Sabaoth, it will be Almighty. Okay, I see what happened there. Okay. So the Masoretic actually has Yahuwah Sabaoth here, or of armies. And now say to my servant David, thus says Yahuwah of armies, I took you from the pasture, from following the flock, to rule over my people, over Yashar all. So again, this is Yahusha talking to him. He's directly talking to Daud. Okay. All right. So I think we got the next one here is verse 26 to 27. Okay. All right. And let your name be made great forever, saying, Yahuwah of armies, again, from the Masoretic here, we have Yahuwah Sabaoth, is the Elohim over Yashar, and let the house of your servant Dawid be established before you. It amazes me, mind you, these Masoretes hated him, and Yahuwah still preserved this version of the Tanach enough to have this in here. He's like, no, you're not removing that. No. Leave that in there. No, ain't gonna happen. So what I will say about the Masoretic text is Yahuwah had a purpose for it, and even though the devil might have wanted Yahuwah's word to be corrupted, Yahuwah still preserved it enough.
That's right.
That it can be used. So that's what I will say about it. And again, the next verse from the Masoretic, mind you, Yahuwah Sabaoth, or Yahuwah of armies, again. The Elohim of Yashar. So again, the mighty one of Yashar. Okay. So again, if Yahusha is not Yahuwah, you have a problem there. Because the person known as Yahuwah of heaven's armies is being called the deity of Israel, essentially. So if he's not the Father, we have a problem. Not just in the New Testament, mind you. So I think the easy conclusion is that they're the same exact person. That's the easy conclusion. But those that contend that they're not are going to have an issue even with the Tanakh. Put aside the New Testament for a second. They're going to have an issue with the Tanakh. You're going to have an issue with certain authors of the Tanakh claiming that this entity known as Yahuwah Sabaoth is the Elohim of Israel. So 1 Kings 18:15, and Eliyahu said, as Yahuwah of armies lives, before whom I stand, I shall indeed show myself to him today. So Elijah is calling Yahuwah of armies the one he's actually going to. Or not, yeah, Elijah, yeah. So now we got 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 14. And Elisha said, as Yahuwah Sabaoth lives, before whom I stand, if it were not that I regard the presence of Yahusaphat, king of Yehuda, I would not look at you nor see you. So again, Elisha is talking about Yahuwah of armies, aka Yahusha, as the one he stands before. Interesting. And you can't say the Masoretes would have an agenda to promote Yahusha as Yahuwah. They didn't believe Yahusha even as the Messiah. So this is clearly Yahuwah's stamp of preserving his word. That would be my assumption. The fact that even in the Masoretic text this can be found, which is amazing to me. So again, here we go. 2 Kings 19:31. For out of Jerusalem comes forth a remnant, and those who escape from Mount Zion. The ardor of Yahuwah does this. The ardor? What the? ISR, really? What the heck? Okay, I see what's going on. Oh, okay. I got to make a note of this. They take out Sabaoth in the Masoretic here. So it's actually supposed to say from the Septuagint, it would read as in 2 Kings 19:31, the zeal of Yahuwah of armies does this. So again, there are situations where they have taken it out. Okay, so Sabaoth, LXX. So again, you have it in the LXX, but not in the Masoretic. 1 Chronicles 11, verse 9. Okay, 1 Chronicles 11, verse 9. Okay. And Daud continued to increase. And let me switch to the Masoretic because the Septuagint has Almighty there. And Daud went on and became great, and Yahuwah of armies was with him. Now we're going to go to chapter 17, verse 7 and 24 of 1 Chronicles. 17, verse 7 and 24. And now say this to my servant Daud. Thus says Yahuwah Sabaoth, I took you from the sheepfold, from following the sheep, to be ruler over my people, Yasharal. Now, again, Yahusha himself is saying he's the one that physically did it. He did it. Okay. Verse 24 of 1 Chronicles 17. So let it stand fast, and your name be great forever, saying, Yahuwah Sabaoth, Elohim of Yasharal. So Yahuwah of armies is being called the mighty one of Israel again. is Alua to Yasharal. And let the house of your servant Daud be established before you. So again, so we're going to do a couple more cross references. We'll leave the rest of Yahuwah of armies portion for next time, I think, just because, like I said before, there's so many cross references. There's no way we're going to fit all these in today. All right, so now we're going to go to the book of Psalms, chapter 24, verse 10. So, who is this King of splendor? Yahuwah of armies. He is the King of splendor. Now, this is interesting. This is interesting because we heard this song growing up. You know, we don't think two things about it, but it's interesting that it's Yahuwah of armies being mentioned as the King of esteem or the King of splendor. Okay. Psalms chapter 46, verses 7 and 11. Psalms 46. Yahuwah of armies is with us. The Elohim of Yaqub is our refuge. Selah or Salah, which actually just means pause, by the way, just FYI. That's like supposed to give the person singing that psalm the injunction to stop and pause. Like that's the reason Selah is there.
Right.
That's all that is. It's really all that is. It's telling you to pause.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Psalms 48, verse 8. As we have heard, so we have seen in the city of Yahuwah of armies. So now it's called Jerusalem, is being called Yahusha's city. In the city of our Elohim, Alua establishes her forever. Selah, again, pause. Okay. So now we got Psalms 84, verses 1, 3, and 12. Okay. Psalms 84, verse 1. How lovely are your dwelling places, O Yahuwah of armies. Even the sparrow has found his home, the swallow its nest for herself, where she has put her young ones. Your slaughter places or altars, O Yahuwah of armies, my king and my Alua. Where does that sound familiar? Oh, I don't know, maybe Thomas in the New Testament saying, my master and my Elohim. Interesting. As one man used to say, who has now passed away, the New Testament is just the Old Testament revealed. That's all it is, guys. It's no different. Mm-hmm. So you should be able to find the same theology in the Tanach. Yeah. Okay. That's right. So Psalms 84, verse 12. Again, O Yahuwah Sabaoth, or Yahuwah of heaven's armies. Baruch is the man who trusts in you. Interesting. Isaiah 1, 9, and 24. So chapter 1, verse 9 and 24. I think that will be it for today. I think we're giving you guys enough to really digest. I don't want to give you guys too much. Okay. All right. Chapter 1, verse 9. Unless Yahuwah Sabaoth, Yahuwah of armies, had left to us a small remnant, we would have become like Sodom. We would have become like Gomorrah. Okay, so let me see what's the other verse here. Verse 24, okay? Therefore, Now this is where I have to switch the translation here or the version here. I hate how they have Adonai there. Therefore, thus says Yahuwah, Yahuwah of armies, or Yahuwah Sabaoth, woe to the mighty men of Yashrael for my wrath. So the wrath of Yahuwah of armies shall not cease against mine adversaries, and I will execute right ruling on my enemies. And so that's pretty much it for today. I just wanted to give you guys a little taste of this series that we're doing called How to Find Yahusha in the Tanakh. Hopefully, any viewers or listeners, hopefully you enjoyed this on this beautiful new moon day that you has grouped us with. So if you guys have any questions, comments, please let me know. Feel free to comment, but I kind of just wanted to kind of keep continuing this series here because I know this is a pretty big study, and I was really led today by Abba to really start continuing this study. So I'll probably label this as part 3 of this series that we've been doing, and probably in parentheses we'll put the 2 titles that we mainly looked at here today in this study, which was Yahuwah of armies, aka in the Hebrew Yahuwah Sabaoth, and Yahuwah Alua, Yahuwah Elohim. So those are the 2 compound names you'll see a lot, Yahusha mentioned by a lot in the Tanakh. So it's not that he wasn't in the Tanakh. It's not like we didn't have proof of this. It's just that we were very ignorant and didn't know of all these titles and compound names that he went by, which he had many. In the previous 2 portions or parts of this series, we talked about how he was called wisdom, how he was called Malach Yahuwah or messenger Yahuwah, how he, so there's many titles and names he was known by before his earthly, whatever you want to call it, earthly ministry or human existence. When he became a human, he didn't originate as a human like I mentioned before. Okay, he became a human. He lessened himself to become a human. So hopefully this study really, was a baraka to everyone listening in and viewing in. And as I always say, study this out for yourself. The tools are right there. I'm giving you guys all the scriptures. All you got to do is just look them up, whether it's your audio Bible, whether you're physically looking these scriptures up, really doesn't matter. Just test these out for yourselves. I don't want you blindly following me. So hopefully, though, this was an edifying study for all those involved. And, till next time, shalom. I hope all of you out there, especially all of our brothers and sisters out there, have a great new moon and new month. Shalom.